Hello and welcome to ScreenHour with me, Mikey.
And me, Kieran.
Where we discuss the latest releases of films, series and games regarding our own impressions and experiences. We warn you before deep diving spoilers. This week is going to be Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It picks up from the last game, and like many sequels do, dare I say this straight off the bat, it is what every sequel should be for any game. Anything which they touched on in the first game, which was a positive element, they've just reinforced it, they've just explored it more, and just made it bigger and more fleshed out. Any annoying little thing, they've pretty much just got rid of. The convoluted maps, the lack of fast travel, which made the convoluted maps even more annoying. It's I can go on and on, but this is just the mere introduction.
In the words of Syndrome from The Incredibles, it's bigger, it's better. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an overly developed platform simulator.
Yeah,
and I mean that in the nicest way possible. You do a lot of platforming in this game. There's a lot of wall running and climbing and all that. It's like, it's more Assassin's Creed than Assassin's Creed game, I feel.
I don't know.
At times.
I'd compare it more to Uncharted, because I feel like it's,
yeah,
you feel to be more like, it's more fun.
Uncharted 4.
Than an Assassin, yeah, Uncharted 4, the best Uncharted.
And it's more seamless.
Yeah, for the, like, general Star Wars people, I felt like Fallen Order was, a lot of people played Fallen Order, but not as many people who should. But because Respawn are even bigger and better now, like, whether it be, like, I know, spoilers, obviously it's totally different, like, Division, who have made Jedi Survivor, but you know, with their money from Apex, I can only presume they've put more into it, and the critical success of Fallen Order. This has had a lot more and Titanfall, yeah, there's a lot more marketing push. So I feel like there's probably quite a few people who will be playing Jedi Survivor who hasn't played Fallen Order, and it's set 5 years after Fallen Order, so I think it's probably set about 7 years before the Battle of Yavin, so before New Hope. So it's on the cusp of the Empire have really got going. So it's like, you know, it's probably, I think it's about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So it's in that nasty / really good bit, which everything seems to be explored in now. In the Star Wars, like, geekdom and fandom, like, in the 2000s, in 2010 onwards, we knew nothing really apart from the legends in canon. There wasn't that many TV shows and, like, films and games which were based, like, before New Hope and after Revenge of the Sith. Then all of a sudden, loads of stuff's explored it. And this has got one of the best stories in, I'd say. Like, best, if we was to do the episode we done on narratives, I would have put this in my list. I would have put it in, like, my top 3 narratives.
I don't know if it's my top 3 narratives of all time, but it's definitely, like, it's a very good. Like, it's definitely better than Fallen Order. But there were aspects of Fallen Order that I missed that weren't in this. But there were also bits of Fallen Order that I wish happened that never happened, which I'll get into later. But I only played Fallen Order, this is like February this year, and it's currently May. So I hadn't properly played it. I think I tried to play it when it first came out, and I had some, like, graphical issues or performance issues or something with it, and I just never went back to it, and I was like, it's not my thing. And then Mikey was like, nah, you should get it, you should play it. So I was like, oh, go on, I'll play it, because the new one's coming out soon. I know Mikey's hyped for that, and I know we'll most likely do an episode on that, so I might as well, you know, give it a go. And I very much enjoyed Jedi Survivor to the point that I actually became quite interested in the Star Wars lore through playing that game. I felt like this was a more complete sort of Star Wars universe that sort of spoke to me in a way that got me more interested.
I think Cal's a different Jedi. That's one of my favourite things about it, is that I like him a lot because he seems to be one of the more human Jedis, in the sense that he seems to have weaknesses, but he's not a weak bloke, and they explore that. And he has vulnerabilities, but, you know, he's also badass. And he's about to, you know, he has a lot of character growth, especially between this one and the new one. The opening scene of this game is sick, and it's such a good tutorial, but it doesn't. It's not handholdy. Well, the setting and like the way Cal handles doesn't feel handholdy.
No, I agree.
It's a very much action adventure game.
I actually think one of its biggest strengths for me is its movement, right? And we've always said like Respawn, Titanfall, Apex Legends, their movement is like unparalleled to other movement sort of games. And I actually feel the parkour, sort of like the platforming stuff in this game, is better than the stuff you get in like Dying Light 2 and games like that, where the game is designed around parkour. It's so much more fluid and streamlined in this. You just feel fluid. And top it off with lightsabers, and you got all these different move sets with lightsabers. There's not as many move sets as like you can do with Kratos in God of War, where you can do like multiple different axe combos and stuff like that. There's not as many combos, but because you got these loads of different saber sort of stances, as it were, that sort of really allows you to try different sort of combos with those. But there's obviously not as many as there could be. But just running around platforming, lightsabers, throwing them, swinging them, like it's a lot of fun to have playing a game.
I couldn't agree more, but also in the sense that I was saying it feels like a sandbox with the combat. So yeah, you only have 5 stances, but each stance is so different than the other ones.
I just said the new stance is the most different.
As in the blaster one.
Well, I say there's 2 new ones, isn't there? No, not the blaster one. The
crossguard.
I say that's the one that's completely different. All the others are quite similar. That one is a lot more slower style of play.
Yeah, it's a lot more methodical.
To the point I didn't play it.
Yeah, exactly. The first one, as in the first one, I mean, like Fallen Order was compared to the Souls games with the whole meditator, then like new enemies come back and the meditating. So when you meditate,
it sort of resets the area.
To make that comparison even more, when you, like you say, when using the crossguard, it feels like a slower game type of thing, because you've got to be. Yeah, you hit like a truck, but like you're not hitting like 10 people at once and stuff like that. Like you're darting around the shop.
You can like hit them like a truck and then wait 5 seconds and hit them like a truck again, or you could just use like dual wield or whatever, and you could hit them lightly, but when you add it all up over the amount of time, the energy usage to fighting and stuff, all that. So if you want to bring mathematics and physics and stuff into it, the odds are you actually probably do the same amount of damage in the same amount of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You touched on just like what was the lore aspects you liked?
Well, I mean, it's a bit more of a spoiler bit, but it was the lightsaber changing. That was something that really, really like, whoa, that's the...
What, in this one or the last one?
No, when one of the person's lightsabers changed it from what...
Oh, when one of the main Yeah, we get to that in a bit. As you say, that's very spoilerific. But I think that's what's really cool about both of them, and more so this one, like you say, is that it seems to incorporate like elements of gameplay and combat of like introduces them in like quite a not a hand-fisted way. And it really involves in the story, but in the like old one, you rediscover Force abilities, and Cal shut himself off from the Force, and he's forgotten, and like they use the word forgot, like it sounds silly, but like he's got PTSD from seeing like his master get wrecked from Order 66 and stuff. So he's trying not to he's trying not to bring that back up, doesn't want to face it, and that's mostly the story of Fallen Order. That is mostly, and as opposed to the other masters as well. And that was quite good about him getting the other powers in the other game, is that's like the basis of it. And this one isn't. This one's kind of like that, but it's more of a, I don't know, like without getting into spoilers, more of an optimistic way of him learning, like remembering and learning new Force powers type of thing.
A non-spoiler bit I can talk about, I think, one of my cons for this game, before we go too far ahead with all the pros, is what I liked about the first game was the Jedi sisters, the enemy Jedi sisters,
the Inquisitors. The Ninth Sister, Second Sister.
The Second Sister, Ninth Sister, right? What I thought the first game was going to be like, you're sort of basically ticking them off and killing like number 9, number 7, number 4, number 3, sort of, you go through to, you get to number 1 and then you take on number 1, which is what I kind of thought that was going to be, but it isn't that. And then the start of this one, you go up against the Ninth Sister again, and then that's it. They're never mentioned again. And I thought that was a little bit disappointing, because I was like, I thought they created something with them in the first one with the Inquisitors, and then the second game is completely different to that. But I had recently heard that the game developers wanted to go away from the Inquisitor storyline and create something entirely independent for Cal and his own story that's not directly linked to the Star Wars like lore or meta or whatever you want to call it. So I can see it from both point of views, but I think it's a shame they didn't use that a bit more. But what they did do good in this one is they introduced a bounty hunter system where you go around, you're basically being hunted by bounty hunters and you have to fight them off, and then that's like a little side quest sort of thing, and then something happens towards the end of that. But I felt like they didn't use that enough. I think it should have been used like the mercenary system from AC Odyssey, where they're actually hunting you down and you're going to fight them off, and then once you killed one, like they're replaced. So there's sort of more of a replayability there. Or even with the Nemesis system that you get from...
that would have been really good. Mordor. Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, the Nemesis is where you fight them and they manage to escape something. They come back and they're like missing a limb, but they remember the fight. That was a really good thing that Warner Brothers did there. Obviously, Warner Brothers have got nothing to do with Disney and Star Wars, but that system hasn't been used in any other games since, that sort of Nemesis system. And it's like, I felt like this would have been a perfect moment to use something like that. So I think that's one of the things that I thought, it's a shame they really missed out on this, because I thought that would have been something really fun to go with the mercenary system.
Like, I think you're right. They must have, I think there's somewhere along the line, I don't know how you would, but they must have patented it because it's such a good system that they've done on Shadow of Mordor, and like if they would have done it with the bounties, it would have been really cool. Like I closed credits on it yesterday, the day of recording, like on the Sunday, and it's now Monday, spoilers, I've got like, I haven't got all the skills unlocked, and I took my time with it. Like, I really enjoyed playing it, so I've done not all the side quests, but quite a lot, like side quests, but not side quest rumors. I've done a lot of that, and what would be good about the bounty hunters is that if you had them something, you'd get a lot more XP. So I'm now doing that. At the end, I'm going around in each map location and killing them, where if they were chasing me, it would have been free XP and easier XP there and then, wouldn't it? And it would have got more of an edge.
Yeah, so that was a good thing about AC Odyssey, is like you're about to like stealth go into a place, right? And next thing you know, there's a mercenary on your tail, and you're like, I can't stealth this place now because a hunter be down with their like saber-toothed pet or whatever. So, that was always like an inconvenience sort of thing. It added a bit of jeopardy to how you're going to tackle a certain aspect. And I think that would have been something that would have been nice to have been added here. But again, it's not like it was shit. It was just like they just could have gone just a little bit further.
Me being like, big Star Wars fan, I'm trying to think of many cons. Like I really struggle to think of any real big ones.
I mean, there was performance issues that I heard a lot of people had problems with.
That's one of them, mate. That's undeniable. Like you say, it hard crashed on me twice.
Yeah, I think I got twice, yeah. Which it kind of sucks with this game, because if you haven't gone to a meditation point, it's not saved. And I did quite a bit, and it crashed, and I had to go all the way back by a good 20 minutes worth of game time. And I was a bit miffed at that, to the point that I was like, oh fuck it, I'm not playing it anymore tonight. I'll play it tomorrow.
That's to be noted, to be fair.
And I had a couple of visual, there was no actual game breaking bugs other than just crashes. There wasn't anything that sort of I couldn't progress to an area or something like that. I just had visual issues where it always seemed like my screen was always cloudy or something, or there was a smog or something, or things weren't pinned sharp. And I messed around with my settings, my HDR settings and stuff, and I could clean it up as good as I could, but it still felt hazy. But I also found that was more of an issue at the beginning of the game. As the game went on, that sort of cleared up. So I don't know if it was just the planet I was on has that atmosphere of stuff. But then when I went back to do some collectibles and stuff like that, the issue wasn't there anymore. So I don't know if it just been patched or what, but I had some visual issues at the beginning, and then, as you say, a couple of crashes. But I mean, that's what you get with day one games, isn't it, really, these days? It's rare to get a game that just works perfectly straight out of the box. They always need a day one patch, which is a shame because we never had that. But, publishers these days just want to force games down your throat.
Unfortunately, though, not to be that guy, but you're wrong, but you're wrong, I'm right, in the sense that...
Well, it got pushed back, didn't it?
It got pushed back, and then also, it did have a day one patch, because I remember I wanted to play it, originally I was gonna do like a half day at work because I was really hot for it or whatever. And then I was doing stuff, so I didn't end up playing it until like as early as I wanted. But it turns out in the end it was good because it patched on the day, so it would have been a lot worse. Which again is a bad thing and a good thing. Like even after the day one patch, it still hard crashed on me twice. Again, in like me trying to be a positive guy, but also this is a general like complaint is, and Kieran will know what I mean. Anybody who's like played even like 4 or 5 hours of this would know what I mean about this. Is there is one main planet, and then I think there's literally like 3 other ones where I feel like the other game seemed to add a lot more.
That was one of my critiques I was going to bring up as well. There's not enough planet hopping, and what planet hopping there is, there's just not enough of a planet to hop on. There's just that one in Kobo, and then the rest are just kind of like a linear sort of path. There's no like exploration there, which is what all the other games, like all the other planets were on Fallen Order. They're all just one linear path, but there was a lot of different planets. And it would have been nice to have had those same planets again in this one.
I know exactly what you mean, to the point where, which weird, and like the story is focused on this main planet, don't get me wrong, but Kobo, the main planet, is probably 4 or 5 times bigger than the other 3. Like, you go to a planet, not the end game planet, but you go to like a planet / base before that, and that one is incredibly linear compared to Kobo. And it's, the level design's great, don't get me wrong, and like especially like throughout the entire game, the shortcuts you create when you're exploring to get back to the meditation points are cool, and especially in that one in particular. But I would have liked the variety on, don't get me wrong, if I would have had to wait another 8 months, I probably would still be more happy. Just if we got it, is like, I don't know, other planets leaning the same size as Kobo. And, because Kobo's, they've put a lot of effort into that, and it's huge, and there's loads of little secret caverns, there's loads of little bits in it, and there's loads of like raider bases and like the undiscovered like droids and stuff like that, where on the other ones there's
a lot of levels as well. It's not just like one plateau sort of thing and you only can play in like that area. There's lots of different elevation levels. There's a lot of mines and stuff you can explore as well, which is a shitload of fun.
Exactly. Oh, another one, to get onto like the main list of positives, this is like Kieran touched on just, and like he quite liked the Inquisitors. The only thing now to back up on what like Kieran says, like whether that was in a developer interview and a writer interview, is in that like I said, just because of it, like they've really explored this era of Star Wars in the last like probably like 10 years. The Inquisitors were introduced in Rebels, I think, don't quote me on it, and then there was also in the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show we've touched on himself. Might have a link for that in this, but so they would have been a bit overkill, and the baddies in this are, like, as far as I know, 100% original, and they are really cool. They're different, and one of them in particular is really cool. But like, what I like about them is how different they are from each other, and on top of that, it's both of their introductions are really badass, and their
conclusions are badass as well. Like, it's their character arcs and where they end up.
Yeah, their character arc's really good, and they say in Borderlands, like every person's a hero of their own story, and both of these characters have these ideals in their head, and they're like, well, I'm doing this because of this, and well, I'm the good guy, you're wrong, I've got 100% conviction on this. And that's, dare I say it, like he says in Avengers, if only the Sith deal in absolutes, which is ironic because that's absolute. But it's these very much have absolutes in it, and I really like that. I like just little things like the customization.
So the customization is a brilliant. Like, you had a little in Fallen Order, but I am a sucker for customization, and there's a lot you can do in this game. So there's a lot of free reign that you can have. It's just, you could just literally spend hours just changing your lightsabers, changing how Cal looks. The only good customization that you could do in the last game but you can't do in this one is customize the mantis.
Yeah.
And I was like, you fucking joking me? Like, where's my customization at, bro? But I also think it's because obviously at the beginning the ship crashes, So I think it's meant to be in that state of fucked up, and maybe in like the next installment, something happens. I don't know.
I think it's because it's a maybe, if I recall correctly, in Fallen Order, for as guys as the next planet loading, the Mantis would go into hyperdrive, and you'd see it like zoom past the stars, and then you'd see your pimped Mantis. And because it's on PS5 and newer gen stuff and the PC, it's like more of a performance thing. Your cow, you can still walk around as cow, and then when you grab some seat as Grease asks you to do, that's when you just boom, you load it into the planet. I think it's because the loading times are a bit quicker as well, maybe.
I mean, I'm sure that's an element, but I don't think that's enough to stop you from doing some customization. I think it was just maybe like they've got enough customization, they don't need it. I think it could have just been as simple as that. Like,
yeah,
they got enough. Fuck them. Like, the whole cast, Greer is back, Seer is back, and Merrin is back, and there's some new additions as well, which are nice, that are quite cool. I quite like. Is it Z?
Z, yeah, the High Republic droid.
I quite like that droid. There's like a naivety to her, but she's also very like warming for a robot. It's an interesting character. It's well voice acted as well. I love Merrin's character, her character arc from Fallen Order to this one as well. Like, it's really good. And then you still got the Cal and Merrin, will they, won't they? You'll find out. You got Sia, who's basically the band they've been separated for a couple of years now, and then they have to come back together to conclude this game. But Sia's been doing her own path. Yeah, I suppose that's more spoiler talk, really. She's bald as well, man, and I think she looks better bald.
Yeah, the whole bald thing really suits her. As Kieran says, I think all of the like typically like this, like, big shout to the developers as always. You know, like the people who've physically programmed the game and such. But obviously, us being the normies, we you physically see the performers and the performance captures as well, and that's absolutely smashed it out of the park. Especially, as you'd presumed, Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis absolutely smashes it. But also, like we've touched on briefly, the villains, Merrin and Cal's chemistry is great. Grease as well. Grease is like, I like Grease.
Grease is a brilliant character.
Greasy money, baby. I like how weird he is. And like,
I love how he has those little quips in the background. He has like a little random liner in the account. And because I finished it a while ago now, I was like, oh, I remember that line. I can't remember it now, but there's something that happens. And Grease was like, oh, you found your audience, or something. He says something along those lines. And I thought, oh, that was a brilliant line. Like, he's such a fun character. And I didn't like Sia in Fallen Order. I just couldn't take to her. Whereas in this one, I really enjoyed her character. I think I don't know if it was just better written, better performed. I don't know. But I just couldn't take to her in Fallen Order. But this one, I was like, now I see where Sia's point of view is coming from. And I don't know if it's because she was harboring so many secrets from Cal and you're trying to like understand the game as well and what's going on in the backgrounds. Whereas in this one you got more of an idea, and Cal's obviously now a Jedi Knight. So maybe she's just more forthcoming with him. So she just doesn't seem like she's harboring secrets. She doesn't seem shady anymore. Maybe that's what it is.
I think you bring up a good point. Is she seems to be, I don't know, a lot more likeable in this one, and maybe that's because she seems less guarded. I don't know. All of the cast in this, whether it's because they're more familiar, I don't know. But like you say, I like Grease is your creepy uncle meets Han Solo. He's like in this in the most like complimentary way. He's really good at it.
He's like he would move heaven and earth for you sort of character, isn't he? He's so nice.
Gameplay stuff as well. Like we mentioned, there's an ice planet on the first one, and it was such a ball lake to navigate.
Yeah, there's a lot of sliding everywhere, isn't there?
A lot of sliding, and like you couldn't physically see on the holo map as well. You'd get lost because it was like there's levels going to levels and like ball lake stuff. And having the introduction to fast travel, especially replaying bits, is an absolute, it's absolute joy. Another positive, and I like
quality of life. Yeah,
quality of life change is really good, but like it's kind of a quality of life thing this is, but also like a bit of a story element. I really like how written the B1 droids are, like the comic relief.
BD1. Yeah.
Well, no, the B1 droids, the battle droids.
Oh, yeah, Roger. Those droids.
Yeah, Roger, those droids. So they're absolutely great. They're exactly what you expect. Like, they're like, watched any Star Wars media with right from the Clone Wars or Phantom Menace. They're hopeless. But they're like, if you get surrounded by them, there's a million of them, maybe you might get killed, but it's very rarely you get killed by a battle B1 droid.
I mean, when I was playing this game as well, like, I was just minding my own business, like platforming. All of a sudden, I just heard their voices, and I think the first line was like Roger, and I was like, literally part of me, like my childhood flashed straight back to Attack of the Clones or whatever it was, and then I was literally like, oh my god, they're in this! Like, whoa, can't wait to kill them.
But this is it, and there's also some bits in it where I think, to be fair, PlayStation's marketing was doing it, but like, two of them are chatting to each other, and one of them saying, "Oh, isn't it such a lovely view?" or something like that. And you almost feel bad for killing them sometimes, but it's absolutely gold. But that gets me to like the quality of life point I was alluding to, is that there's a lot of enemy variety in this one, where I feel like in the other one it seemed to be mostly stormtroopers, and then, which you kind of expected, don't get me wrong, but and every now and again you'd have a purge trooper. Where in this one there seems to be like, whether it be the B1 droids, the B2 droids, droidicas, the raiders, some purge troopers, some stormtroopers. There's a lot mixed in there, which means you have to use the different arsenal of tools you've got. Like, if you haven't guessed by now, I'm definitely in the green badge camp, and I think Kieran is as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a worthwhile game, especially like, they're working on the patches and updating it so it's more seamless. But I think PC is where the problem's been the biggest. I think on console, we just had an iffy problem here or there. But I say I've fully completed the game to the point I've platinumed it. There is literally nothing left for me to do in that game. I got every collectible possible. I sweated it quite hard, to be fair. And for me to do that with a game, to spend that much time, I think... how long did it take me? I think it took me 40 hours of game time to completely clear everything. It might be 37 hours or something like that.
I think I've probably played it 25.
Yeah, I think it's 20 hours or so to complete the game, I think, like story arc-wise, with a little bit of fucking about here and there with side missions and stuff. But yeah, I think to do everything, you're looking at 37, 40 hours, I think.
It's one of them, like, I know games are expensive nowadays, like, it's £70 in the UK. But if you're playing it for like 24, 30 hours and it is a really good experience, which we recommend, it's one of them, like, it's, as, money per value. Yeah, there's no multiplayer or whatever like that, but there's also, like, what's worth mentioning, that there's New Game Plus on day one, as in, like, there's New Game Plus already out there, and like Kieran says, he's platinumed it, and that was 40 hours. I don't think I'll platinum it, because I hardly ever platinum. I've got shit platinums because I just haven't got the patience to go around and do boring shit and like collect stuff from caves and do collectible stuff.
Yeah, it's the collectibles that are like the bullshit for collecting the third plat. I'm ready to go into spoilers, like, if you are.
I'm ready to go into spoilers too. Before we get into juicy spoilers, we'd like to take a moment to thank you for listening to us and to help us further our aspirations. We would forever appreciate it. And if you would like to subscribe to us, follow us and join your preferred platforms, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple and Instagram with our handle, ScreenHour. And if you'd like to participate in an episode, leave your thoughts on what you'd like to see us cover next. That'd be ideal. Now time for spoilers. You have been warned. They're coming up. And by spoilers, I mean, Bode, you bastards. That's...
Did you see it coming?
You know what? I kinda did. But then I kind of didn't. So there's a bit in when you're attacking the Luger hold, when you haven't killed Ravis. We didn't mention Ravis at all, but like again, we mentioned him now. And I think, what? I feel like he's a bit funky here. I like something's a bit fishy. And then he says something, and he's talking about Merry, and that was it. And he says, "Why don't you go just?" He says, "There's more to life than tackling the Empire. Why don't you settle down with Merry?" I'm like, you know what? He's got some good advice here. And I'm like, maybe the couch should just start like shacking up with Merry, and he'd probably make a shit game like Jedi Husband Simulator 3. But like I thought, that's kind of a good guy, good friend thing to say. And I thought, he's cool, Bode. He's both sound. And I was like,
he's only got my best interests at heart.
He's only got Cal's best interests at heart, as you say, Keith. But and then next thing I'm like, what the fuck?
See, I didn't see him being fucking Sith. I did not see that coming, but I did sense something fishy. Because I was like, why are we always around this boat? Why is he always trying to help us out? And all he ever does is talk about his daughter. I think his daughter's dead. And that's where I thought it was going. I thought his daughter was dead and like he was just trying to live on in her memory and do good and right by her. But when he fucking pulls out, I mean, what I thought was fishy is when we're fighting against, is it Dagon?
Yeah, Dagon, yeah.
You're fighting against Dagon, you and Bode are both fighting against Dagon. And I was like, there's so many chances that Bode could have been sliced in half by this lightsaber. But he just keeps getting out with like a couple of bruises or like a broken like jaw or, you know, bloody lip or whatever. I was like, why was he not killed in that fight? I thought like he was a character that you just kill off in that fight. And I was like, there's more to this character than meets the eye. And like the fact that he wasn't killed in that fight when there was so many instances where it could have happened, I thought, nah. He's got a bigger plot here. There's something's gonna happen. It's cooking.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit mad how he managed to survive the Dagon fight. And don't get me wrong, there's characters in Star Wars universe like Han Solo, like cool bounty hunters who aren't like force sensitive. They're just badass in their own right. But then there's so many occasions within the game and the gameplay you think, fucking hell, he's done well here to survive and whatever. And you think, oh, it could just be plot armor. I knew that he was going to be very prominent because it wasn't particularly hand-fisted, but like you said, they kept on mentioning his daughter, and I was like, you're rather going to see his daughter and Cal's going to save his daughter, or, you know, and he's still going to be a good guy or whatever, or he's going to turn to a dark side because I don't know if he's technically a Sith, but like you say, he's, you know, once you pick up a red lightsaber, like it's kind of, you have to do a full redeem arc to get back your blue or green one. Like it's, and also I clocked it after I think someone on the net mentioned it. I didn't clock it at first. It's Dagon's lightsaber. He's got. You probably already clocked it, fair, but
oh, is it? I know. I thought it was his own.
It's Dagon's lightsaber. He's got. So do you know he's like when you kill Dagon, he's like, I'm gonna like look around for a way to fix the compass, or he comes out with bullshit like that, or he's like, oh, just in case there's any more evidence. So he just picks up Dagon's lightsaber. So as a sign of respect, once you kill Dagon, Cal, to like the Jedi Dagon used to be, he puts it on his chest, more like a bit of a Viking thing, or like, you know, like a sword thing. Puts it on his chest. He's like, oh, there you are. Which, in a realistic way, I can see why Cal does it, but practicality-wise, you're putting a weapon on, like, and anybody could pick it up, like Bode, but, you know, you could have a 10-year-old pick it up and just blast the eye off, I don't know. Oh, no, I've done it. But, yeah, he picks that up. I just thought the Bode twist was good, because, like I mentioned earlier on, you can see why he does it.
Yeah.
You know, the Empire have gave him this deal. You go hunt down other Jedis, we just keep you safe. It's a deal which makes sense for the Empire if you're a bit of a bastard, and by bastard I mean he's just got his whatever life's easy for his daughter, so he's just chose that. He's let go of the Jedi way, and he's just become very invested in his own self-interest to the point which has been, you know, he's become like a proper spy, like. And what I really like, and again, this is kind of after, I mean, you touched on it a little bit when we was chatting, is the Force echoes you have when you visit certain places and you go and he's both talking to himself. I've only discovered one, but I watched a YouTube video on it after.
Yeah, I got them all.
And you've got them all, I presume. And I really like that insight into him being a bastard. And he's like, the one I've got is when he's in the saloon and he's thinking of things, and he literally says to himself, and he puts a voice on, he's like, oh, I can't believe that. And he's like, oh, that angle works well.
Yeah. He's like having like a practice run of his conversation with Cal, isn't he? About how to like manipulate Cal into doing something that benefits Bode in some way.
That's it. What I liked about it as well is how his combat, and I quite like the buddy system of like, when you're with Mary as well, you just signal and they just wreck, or you just target someone. Like Mary like incapacitates them with like her magic, and he just like drop kicks him. Up until like his twist, there's no indication that he's force sensitive. He's just using a jetpack, blaster, and gadgets. Like,
yeah, so he does well at hiding his identity.
I quite like Dagon, and again, like to the game's positive, you're led to believe that's the game. Like, he's the baddie of the game.
Well, that's the thing. Like, once you kill him, it's kind of like, wait, the game hasn't ended, so where's it going now? Because there's like a bit of a gap, isn't there, before Bode reveals himself?
Well, it's you have like you give the compass in to
To Eno Cordova. Spoilers, he's not dead.
spoilers is not dead. Well, there's no real like. That's what I really liked that. But in Fallen Order, they're not like he's dead, but like
No.
because BD1's just got these holograms on him and you never talk to him face to face, you're just led to presume he's dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's quite a welcomed addition. You don't see him that much there.
No, I mean, it depends how much time you spend on Jeddah talking to him, I guess. But like cutscene wise and story progression, he's just more. He's like job is the compass. He's sorting out the compass to get to Tanalorr.
Yeah, like you say, you deliver the compass to Eno Corvoda, and there's like one of the longer cutscenes of the game is when they're around the campfire, and then Bode's there is on, they're celebrating, and you're like, oh, this is quite lush. And then so part of me feels like it's tidy, but it's not like a mega finale ending. But that's because, to be fair, we haven't got to Tanalorr yet. It's fixing the compass. So part of me was like, oh, I'm probably going to get to Tanalorr, and then it'll be over then. So I thought, that's quite lush that was. And what made it feel like that was the end, was you'd already had the Ravis boss battle as well, which is cool in its own right. Then you had the Dagon one, which is cool again. So I thought, I'm satisfied, look.
I was satisfied, but part of me was like, this game's a bit short.
Yeah.
For 70 quid.
Exactly.
When we got to that point, I was like, it's a bit short for 70 quid. That was literally a point that literally went straight through my head. Like when you killed Dagon and then you were at that campfire, I was like, it can't be the end. That's a bit short for 70 quid. But I think at the time I was like 14 hours in or something. Because there's quite a bit more after that point, isn't there?
I'd say it's probably
4 hours.
Leonie. Yeah, I was going to say maybe even more. Yeah, probably like 5 or 6 hours. I don't know, going to that base is really cool.
Garanova or something is it called?
I think Garanova, that's really cool. Right, going back to chronologically.
Yes, yeah.
The attack on Jeddah. Something, again, a backwards compliment I like is that I quite like the chase, and don't get me wrong, the chase is epic and it feels great, but I would have liked more. I don't know, we compared it to Uncharted 4 at the beginning. One of the best like cutscenes and set pieces of any game I like is the one in Uncharted 4 when like...
Is it Madagascar behind the shore?
Yeah, I would have liked something like... Because it mostly just feels like the only part of the game which is on rails. The rest of the game is very like free flow in the combats, like you're making it. Where on the speeder, it just feels like, don't get me wrong, it feels fantastic, but I would have liked more combat in it.
Oh wait, you're on the speeder, what, chasing Bode?
Yeah, when you're chasing Bode, like.
Oh, I thought you meant way before then.
Nah, I would have liked that more, had more combat, but at the same time, once you get to Bode, I thought that was cool as well. I'm like, I went struggling, but I was like, shit, I'm gonna, like, where's my, like, I was like, BD's any? Where's my stims?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I'm not, like, this is gonna be quite hard, this is. I know I get wrecked. And I'm like, fuck.
And then
I was like, shit, it's part of the story. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, respawn icon comes up, doesn't it? And you're like,
yeah.
Oh no, I don't want to have to do all of that again, because when was the last time I saved?
Like, there was a meditation point in halfway through the speeder chase. I was like, no.
And then you press respawn, and the next thing you know, you're playing a seer. And you're like, Cal's not dead. Fuck off. Cal's not dead. That's not how you end Cal's story. I was like, he'll come in later. Right? And I was like, oh, I guess we're playing a seer. And to be honest, I enjoy playing a seer. Because I know we said it before, God of War, playing as Atreus, obviously he's not as good as playing as Kratos, but his skill set was still fun and playable. It wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to get back to playing as Kratos because it's his shit. He felt capable, he had his own moveset, and it was the same with Seer. But Seer, in a way, actually felt more fluid and more sort of badass than Cal, because obviously she's a more mature Jedi Knight. So, like, her moves were, like, so unparalleled towards Cal's. Like, you could totally see a difference in the two. Like, one that's been with the Force for a longer time and one that's, like, sort of coming back into it as such. You could totally see a different moveset.
I feel like she just felt stronger, didn't she? She felt
more in control of the Force, I felt. Like, she could manipulate it more. And I thought Cal's reintroduction would actually happen. You know, when they're in, like, the Mantis hangar and they've got the blast door has been broken, and then they've got all these floods of people coming in. Part of me expected to sort of see, like, in the smog, we just see this lightsaber light up and it's Cal in the background. You're still playing a seer, but Cal comes in and wipes them all out like a badass, so you get to watch Cal.
That would have been cool, because it would have been the only time you would have been playing and you would have saw Cal.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that would have been sick, but what does happen is not as sick, in my opinion, but it's still a very cool moment, because I did not expect this character to show up in this film. I thought in this game, like in the last game in Fallen Order, I thought they were a really nice introduction. I thought, oh, sick. Like, I didn't expect to see them in this game. That's cool, right? And in this one, I was like, well, I don't expect it, but it would be cool if you saw them again. Fucking Vader.
Yeah, the Vader introduction is one of my favourite parts of Fallen Order. And the reason I like it in Fallen Order is because he feels threatening. It's like a horror story. It turns into a splasher, like you're just running.
You know, I thought I'm out.
Yeah, you get away with the skin of your teeth. Like, you know, at the middle of the game, or like towards the end of the game, you're just going up against Purge troopers, and Cal is just, you know, he hasn't got a fucking clue, like, and he's legging it, and C is like on her back foot. But what I like about it this time is, see, you have that introduction of what, like, when you're playing a seer, like we say, she feels stronger, you're wiping the floor with stormtroopers, and you're feeling badass. It quickly makes you think C is quite established, which is good. And then Vader comes in, and you're like, shit, what's gonna go down here? And the boss battle itself, like, you know, the Vader's not gonna die, but you're feeling like, well, it's letting me play this time, so I'm not gonna get. He's not gonna batter me straight up, and I've got stims. Well, you shouldn't have stims. It was kind of weird. Like, she just held herself because, like, she just Hulkamania'd up. She just pressed, like, buffed herself up, and she go, I don't know. But I was thinking to myself, this is gonna be interesting, and I was fucking right. She really gave it to him, and it was probably exactly. What I liked about Vader's design as well is that he's quick in the sense that he's got quick reactions, but he's slow at, like, you know, his movement in distance, and he hits like a truck, and he's really strong, and, like, you know, he's too lazy to run to you, so he just picks you up and brings you over.
Yeah.
And they hit that now, and they hit that on the head. He's all like, his combat style of just like absolutely slashing down and then just moving like 2 steps forward really quick and just hitting you. It was hot. It's quite, I don't know. It took me, I'd probably done it on a 5th try or something like that.
Oh no, I got him in the first try.
Oh, sorry, but yeah,
what I liked, I think, I don't know if this is how they intended it, but this is certainly how I viewed it, is that, don't forget, this is still like new Vader. He's only just gone from Anakin to Vader.
Like, not really though. He's been. That's what I liked about it. I think the opposite. I think it was good because they showed it's like Prime Vader. It's.
Well, you got Prime Vader, like, you know, New Hope sort of times, but I felt like it was before then. I mean, obviously, I'm not clued up on the timelines and everything as well as you are, but, you know, obviously, it's between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope. I dare say I think it's before the Kenobi series. It could be after.
It's the same year, I think. Apparently, someone was saying online it's like around about the same time.
But I felt like Vader felt a bit more sort of vulnerable in Jedi Survivor, to the, you know, because as you say, Seer was giving it all she could, and to the point that when the fight was finished, Vader sort of stumbled away. He didn't just like walk away with ease. He was kind of like leaned back, wasn't he? And he kind of had to like use his abdomen to help pick his torso back up from like leaning because he was in pain. And he sort of just stumbled off. And I was like, I don't recall ever seeing Vader that sort of like vulnerable in the original trilogy until obviously his face is half missing, and then he says, "Father."
That's what's good about him, is due to when they were made and how like the choreography's changed and, like, you know, the Star Wars laws changed. Kieran's right in the sense that in the original trilogy, even in Return of the Jedi, when the 3 of them are like Papa Palps, Luke, and Vader / Anakin are there, it's such slow, clunky movement, and then, you know, the way Luke batters Vader in the end is just literally just like 2-handed like saber strikes, and he's just clattering him like that. Where in this, you see like a proper fight, and you understand, well, what is got battered type of thing on as silly as that sounds. I don't just like to see him have combat which is fleshed out, where in like the original trilogy there's no real threat for him apart from just the emotional threat of Luke just turning and just getting a hand for 2 minutes. Well, I'd say 2 minutes, obviously a lot less than that, probably like 10 seconds or whatever. But no, the see a fight with him is really good. Like, it's where I like it. I think it's like when you get half his health down, he's like, you threw all the archive books on him.
Yeah.
And all the archive cases are on him. And you just know he's going to come back, but the way he just throws it off him, and he's just like, I'm here, I'll fucking...
Look, good old bitch. It's like that moment.
I'll do you in, like, and he's just throwing shit at you. And you don't care, like, he's unstoppable like that. Like, it's weird because at the start of the fight as well, she's quite cocky and she's like, oh, I thought we got rid of you, and then, like, I thought you would have drowned in, like, the last game. How they get away. And he's just like, you thought your actions had consequences, like, it's done nothing, just hasn't even halted me. And he's just like, absolutely just bossing it. Dagan Gera or Dagan Sira, I don't know. But Dagan is like...
Dagan Gera, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Dagan Gera. What's good about him is the flashbacks you have and the Force echoes like Kyle has. He's such a... Apparently, like, there's another Jedi in, like, a Quinn and Voss, I think, has that Force echo power, I think. And he's such a good way of storytelling, of, like, just going up to other objects and, like, looking at their history and sensing memories out of them. And for Dagan, it works really well, because obviously, he was chucked in a Bacta tank for 200 years. So, a lot has changed for him. But his portrayal, like, is quite good because his introduction, I knew he was going to turn heel.
I didn't read too much into it at that point, to be honest. I was just going with it, so I hadn't really... Did I know? I didn't.
I only knew because he was going to turn heel, because I was like, oh, it's going to be interesting if he says another Jedi. And I thought, it's just going to be too simple. Like, I knew something was going to happen to him either way, because I was like, why isn't he in the rest of the lore, or what excuse would they use? I don't know. But I was like, it was such a cool idea to introduce him, and he felt betrayed by the Jedi, ironically. So that's why he turns heel. He's like, oh, the bastard's like throws me in Bacta for 200 years.
What we mentioned in non-spoilers is the change. We haven't seen really the change. I suppose Anakin, maybe we saw as a change from, the light to the dark side. But this time we actually see it happen before our eyes, like real time sort of thing. Like, we actually see the lightsaber crystal change color. And I thought that was really cool, right? Because I hadn't seen anything like that before in the limited Star Wars things I've seen. And I thought that was an really interesting way to understand how the dark side takes over, and how the intrusive thoughts, as it were, take over, and how his yellow crystal lightsaber changes to red, and you watch that crystal change with the hatred that he has. And I thought, oh, that is really incredible. Like, that was sick. I really enjoyed that bit.
It felt cinematic, and it felt quite emotional as well. But like Kieran says, you physically, like, you see him change, and what I like about it is Dagan's, like, Kintari refers to him as a few times as either revered, like Jedi Dagan Sira, that type of thing. And before he turns down in the flashbacks, he's a bit like Anakin. He's quite cocky, and he's like trying to help others to the point where it becomes a bit self-interested, and he wants to help others so much that he just eventually turns to the dark side when we see it then. And it's nice parallel they've drawn on that. His introduction of, like Kieran says, it's literally just it just goes boom, and it's intense. I like it.
I felt like that's where the game really kicked up a notch as well.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like until then, I was just impressed with the gameplay, mostly. Apart from the Coruscant introduction is really good, mind. The Coruscant introduction is really good because you see how much more capable Cal is now. And, like, you can see, like, he's running amok. But, like you say, then is when it really starts to lift off. Cal and Merrin's chemistry is nice. It's, apart from Padme and Anakin's relationship, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's one of the main cruxes of the prequels, and obviously the reason Anakin turns to the dark side. I think that it's done quite well in the prequels, but what's done just as well or better is Sabine and Obi-Wan's relationship. But I think this is probably one of the better romantic relationships we got in the entirety of Star Wars, really.
They don't force it. I think that's what the good thing. They don't forced the relationship is. We watched it mature over the first game, and like I say, it was will they, won't they? And in this game, you got a large portion of it where it's like, well, are they, aren't they? And then they get that little moment before that brilliant set piece. It's like one of my favorite moments of the game. And then she goes in for the kiss, and he's like, "Oh, was that for luck?" And she goes, "No, that was for me." And I was like, "Ooh!" She's got her own Han Solo line of, "I know."
Yeah, that's what I like about it. Their relationship's not as prominent as Leia and Han's, but like you say, what's good is obviously Cal's the main character you play as the protagonist, but she's fleshed out in her own right. You know, she's not a damn like your princess is in another capsule. She's not a damsel in distress in it.
I think she's a better written character than Leia. And I know that's a big statement.
For the most part, yeah, but like, you know, I suppose back then was a different time, but yeah, she's more of a warrior. She seems to be more like in a lot of ways quite capable. Like, so yeah, it is. I can see what tree you bark at and something. What other main story spoilers like? I like that Ravis isn't that 2-dimensional. I think it was. Shout out to one of the biggest Star Wars channels there is, really. Star Wars Pre brought up a good point. He seems to be reminds me of a knight in the sense he has got like a code of Star Wars food touched on that. Like he's got a code of conduct he's got to live by, and once he swears by someone, he'll follow that allegiance to the end. So like, I quite like that of Ravis, and his boss battle was hard but quite good. Not hard, but more so like just varied, just different. He wasn't just another lightsaber duel. It wasn't just a guy holding a blaster or something like that. He wasn't like, he didn't seem generic.
It was his ability to heal himself. But it wasn't heal himself. It was like molds himself around the damage kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So his armor was like less so armor, but more so just to keep his like body, like his slivery, like tentacle body together as like more of a human form.
Like what's it called? Like a shell.
Like a shell, yeah. The force powers you get, the force lift and force slam, they are just quite fun. Like they're not like what is the other force ability you get the traversal ones. There isn't it? Is there? Oh, the dark side. Yeah. When you suddenly start, like, that's quite cool. Now that.
Oh yeah, your ultimate, as it were.
Your ultimate is really interesting because it
starts off as being slow-mo mode, and then it changes. Oh, fair. That would have, I would have. Sorry, Mike, to jump on this, but I thought that would have been a really interesting direction if they made Cal third.
Well, this is what I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna struggle. I think it's gonna be good, not struggle, but I can only presume the next one, because they're definitely going to do another one, is going to be Cal and Merrin bringing up Kata and him trying to like show like the light side, but also dealing with the dark side himself, maybe. Because if he's the very fact that you end the game with that mechanic, I think hints towards him going towards the dark side.
Well, that's the thing. You can keep using it. Like, it's not like, oh, you used it for that period of time and like you're over it. You can still keep using the ultimate, which is like the dark side ultimate, where you just become overpowered. Whereas, like, as I say, the ultimate at the beginning of the game is you just went into slow-mo mode. Whereas, like, as you're dealing with the dark side, your ultimate becomes more of this sort of burst of rage, and then you keep that even after the story's completed. So it's kind of like, is that who Cal is now, or is that just a game mechanic for the sake of, yeah, we know this is a better ultimate, so we'll let you keep it? Like, I don't know if there's something to read into there. What I did miss from the force abilities was freeze. Like, you could freeze fast.
You could slow individuals down, like
freeze, black, hold,
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, you can't do that in this one. I thought that was a bit of a.
I think I would have kept that as opposed to like force lift and slap. I really like they introduced Mind Trick in this. Mind Trick is absolute gold.
Oh yeah, You don't do it enough.
I killed many of the big animals, many a time. If there was two of them, I'd just sit back, let them fight each other, and then just throw a lightsaber at the one who survived and just walk away. Like, it was like, that was sick. You know, what 2 stances did you use? I've used blaster and dual wield. I haven't looked back. I might use double-ended, because double-ended apparently is like sick.
Yeah, I used double-ended and dual wield. Double-ended is probably the one I used the most, just because I felt so fluid with it, and I also felt like Darth Maul, and Darth Maul's fucking sick. So especially the ability where you basically run and jump at them, so you like run and jump and you just spin, so you can spin in it as like.
Oh, is that when you spin like a tornado thing? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like a forwards tornado. Like that got me out of jail so many times. And then you could do a thing where you could just throw it in front of you, right? And then you could catch it again and give it an extra boost to throw it further out. So you just did like a huge perimeter around you. It was just constantly spinning and killing people. And you just could do that again and again and again. But obviously it would drain your force meter. But if you've skilled that up in the skill points. But I think that was also something I thought was good with this game, actually, is when you started, all of the stuff you'd learned from the previous game, you still knew. Apart from, like, say, the freeze, the blaster vaults and stuff like that, like force slow.
Yeah, a lot of games fall into that trap and, like, it's annoying, but this didn't.
Where you got to learn all the new abilities again, which is like, I've did that in all the previous game. Why do I need to learn how to fucking fire a bow again? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they didn't do that, and I'm really glad they didn't, because it would have just been frustrating. Well, I haven't really got much else to say, but I'm just very interested to see that, like, the family aspects of the next game, I'll be interested to see. With Kata, Merrin, you know, Uncle Grease, playing as Cal, as, like, and I also, like, my biggest, like, intriguing point I'd love to see is how big of a jump are they going to give it?
Like, timeline-wise, like, years.
Timeline-wise, because what could be cool is it could be like 10, 15 years. So it's, you know, around the Return of the Jedi era, or even longer. And then maybe you're playing as Kata, and then it's after Return of the Jedi, or it could just be another 5, 6 years. So it's like Empire Strikes Back time, and Kata's a teenager, and Cal's, I don't know, in his mid-30s, because I'd say he's like 30 now. So Cal could be like 40 odd. And then he could be more of a proper dad, like, and she could have like the teenage angst type of thing, and she's like, you know, got a bit of dark side, light side going on. That's what I think might happen.
Yeah, teenage hormones.
Yeah, teenage hormones and dark side, light side, yeah, probably don't mix well. But no, it took me 2 minutes to think of that, and you know, I think that could be good. And yeah, I'm not fucking Star Wars royal. Like,
I think the most interesting thing is how much, because she seems quite okay with her dad dying. But she also feels really connected to Merrin. I feel like Merrin's like a good support for her. But how long until, you know, when she becomes of age as such, when she really contemplates what really happened, how much resentment is she going to have towards them? Like, where's that going to go? Are we going to join them? And it's just Cal and Merrin are on their own. Grease is busy doing his thing and they've got to search for Kata because Kata's in trouble. Or, you know, Kata's left them because of, you know, a big incident and now they've got to try and find her, and then that puts them into some sort of jeopardy of something. I don't know. But I think that's how I kind of see it going, is Kata maybe resents them and understands, you know, something happened and like her dad's dead now and like it's all Cal's fault, and you know, she doesn't really understand everything because maybe they tried to harbour some things from her to protect her, and she's run off and then she's got in cahoots with the wrong people, and now Cal needs to do something about it. I don't know, but Cat is going to be. I think we can both agree Cat is going to be a big point of the third game.
Yeah, I think very much so.
Or spoilers, it's written out and that's it. We don't see her again.
But no, I thought it was great. It was a great game.
Yeah, and it's a very, very enjoyable game. And again, it's bigger and better than the last one. So if you enjoyed Fallen Order, you'll definitely enjoy this one. And if you are on the fence and you're not sure and you think 70 quid is a lot to spend, try Fallen Order first, because it'll really get you an idea of what this game is. This game is obviously bigger and better in every way, and there's a lot more quality of life changes, as most games tend to have in the second iteration. But I think Fallen Order is still a solid game to pick up and play, just to understand the story and how we get to Jedi Survivor from Fallen Order.
You can probably get it for like 5-10 quid maybe. Thank you for listening, and may the force be with you. I think that's what they say in the Star Wars podcasts.
But what if you support the dark side? What do you say then?
Pop-up helps. How the Empire? I
think that'll be interesting. I did overhear once actually that they're going to create a Star Wars game which is complete free reign, but you're going to have complete creativity over your character where you can choose the dark side. And I was like, sign me up.
Force Unleashed was a bit like that. Did you play Force Unleashed on PS3?
Of course I did.
But no, I think it's just a testament to, no real surprise, I really enjoyed it. And Kieran, as anti-Star Wars he tries to be, he's enjoyed it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it as always. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Goodbye.
Bye.